Well, today I'm sat in a 2025 Skoda Kamiq. Is it any good? Do I like it? Well, watch the film and you'll find out. Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Wolfie's Wheels. Today I'm away on my travels. I'm in Ireland and I've hired a Skoda Kamiq from Europcar. And I thought, well, while I've got it, I might as well do a quick review of it and see what I thought and share my thoughts with you good people. So I'll tell you a little bit about the car. We'll look around the outside of it. We'll look around the inside of it, look at the seats, how much room there is, luggage space, etc., etc. And then we'll go for a drive and I'll sum it up at the end as to whether or not I think it's a good car, bad car, indifferent car, and what personally I'd probably go for. Would I go for one of these if I was in the market for a car at about this price point? And obviously everyone is going to have their own views on that, and this is only my opinion. And, you know, no animals were harmed in the making of this film and other views are available, etc., etc. Anyway, this is a non-sponsored film, so I've paid for this car myself. So anything I say about Europcar is purely that as a customer, although, to be honest, this is a review of the car and not of Europcar, so I probably won't mention them very much at all. So this is the Skoda Kamiq. This particular one is the SE edition, which is sort of the bottom of the range, as you'd probably expect a car rental firm to use. And when I picked it up, it had about 500 kilometres on the clock, so it is effectively a brand new car. This SE edition comes with a 1.1 litre 95 brake horsepower engine, a 3-cylinder, which is quite interesting, and we'll talk about that a bit more when we go out for the drive. And it's reckoned it will do about 52 miles to the gallon, although at the moment I'm not seeing anything like that. And I'll put up at the bottom here at this stage what the car is actually getting, because I can't remember off the top of my head, because it's actually shows it in litres per 100 kilometres, which I'll then need to reconvert back to mpg, but I have a feeling it's about 43. But yeah, so this 1.13 cylinder engine will take it to 60, they reckon, in 11 seconds. That doesn't sound very fast, but to be honest, I didn't really find that an issue on the road. I don't know whether it's accurate or not, but it certainly, there's no problem keeping up with traffic in it. It'll cost you around about £25,000 for this base spec model, and I think they go up the more trim and goodies you add to sort of 31,000. But of course, discounts are available, and of course, nobody actually buys a car, or very few people buy a car cash nowadays. They're normally done on PCPs, and as you can see here, there are two sort of PCP options available to you. The first one is over 4 years plus 1 month, so that's 49 months. And based on a £4,500 deposit, you'd be paying £260 a month over, let's say, 4 years, with £9,250 as a balloon payment. APR is shown as there at 6.9%. Alternatively, you might want to do it over a shorter period, in which case you could do it over 2 years, 24 months, for £394 a month on a £4,500 deposit, with a balloon at £11,400. So although we're sat here and it's typical Irish weather, it's sort of mizzling, it's that sort of rain that's going to get you soaking wet without you knowing it. I can't really sit in the car and tell you all about what the car little design features I like and don't like while I'm sat in the car. So let's go outside and have a look round the outside of the car, and I'll tell you what I think about how it looks. So as you can see, and you probably know already, it's a sort of small compact SUV or medium-sized SUV. I'm not really sure where it fits in terms of small, medium or large. I know it's definitely not large, and it's, you know, of a vehicle of its type, it's reasonably attractive. It's got some nice design features. This unleaded thing here really is only because it's a hire car and it's to remind people what fuel to put in. The overall length of the car is about 4.2 metres, and I'll put the exact measurement up. It's a nice narrow stance as well. which is just under 1.8 meters across the width. I'm not sure whether that's mirror to mirror, although when you look at the mirrors, they don't really seem to stick out much farther than the bodywork. So it's just under 1.8 meters wide, which is great on these narrow Irish country roads where you're threading it along. And the height is just under 1.6 meters. In English, I'm 5'9", and the car kind of comes up to sort of my ear height. So in terms of its overall height, it is sort of reasonably tall car. I think it's got some nice design features. I mean, I like these LED lights here, and headlights there, and indicators down at the bottom. But I like the way this line here follows itself all the way along this this line right through to the back lights. It makes for some sort of interesting shapes. It's a little bit of aero here, maybe keeps the screen clean, maybe helps a little bit with the overall aeros and fuel consumption. Relatively high-waisted car. It's about, I don't know, it's 5'9". It's up to about there on me. Seems to be upsetting the starlings up there. You see them making lots of screeching in the background. This particular model comes with these 16-inch wheels with 205 60 tyres on them, so they've got a nice deep profile, and the ride is really actually very comfortable indeed, and they're quite quiet. In fact, it's a good quiet ride, as you'll see when we go out for a ride in the car later on. So really, no sunroof, has these roof bars even on the SE model. DAB radio, which is a little shark finned area at the back. Rear wiper just here. And there's not really an awful lot to say about it. I mean, this grey colour is not the standard metallic grey. I think that is an at cost option, but probably as Europcar bought a few hundred of them, they probably didn't pay much for it anyway, if anything for the upgrade of the paint. But I say there's not really a lot to say about it. It does what it says on the tin, really. I mean, it's a perfectly pleasant car to look at, if not very exciting. I think that's probably how I would sort of describe it. The car has like a remote fob thing, so you unlock it from the fob. It's not one of those walk up and it automatically unlocks or locks itself car. You do have to do that. But as you look inside it, it's a far from unpleasant place to be. So as you can see, it's got a nice digital display. There's no heads-up display, but realistically you wouldn't expect that, certainly at this price point. And you can change the I don't know if I could do it here, the appearance of the screen into different modes, comme ça, and alternatively that one. I like that one because it's got this big clear digital speedo right in the middle, and when you get to my age, it's good to see big things in big print in front of you. Now, I've had these digital displays on previous Skodas that I've owned and loved, and yeah, it's great that it does it, but quite frankly, it's one of those things that once you find a display you like and you set it up, you never change it. And so it's sort of, if it was a fixed set of dials, it wouldn't really make any difference to me personally, but we're all different. And across to the display, this is the Google Maps display in the middle, and it's very easy to see. It's kind of one of these ubiquitous sat-nav type things in the middle. It's nice to see down here that the air conditioning and heated windows and stuff like that is all on buttons, which is nice. The radio is all controllable from these various bits on the steering wheel, and all sorts of different functions there. And you've got stalks here for sort of cruise control and wipers and stuff. I mean, it's just a very conventional car layout, which of course makes it absolutely ideal for a rental car, because one thing you want in a rental car, you want to be able to get in it and drive it and understand it. You don't want to be fannying about trying to learn how to make the thing, where all the various controls and etc. are. So it's deliberately a conventional car. And that's not a bad thing, and I'm not criticising it for it. It just makes it kind of a bit difficult to say anything exciting about it, because it's not. It's not an exciting car from that perspective. So, yeah, I mean, what's it like for the driving position? So from a driving position, the car's a very easy car to get comfortable in, although there is one sort of thing that I'm really not very keen on in this car, and it's quite frankly extremely irritating to the extent that I think, you know, is it a deal breaker? No, it isn't. It'd be churlish to say it's a deal breaker, but I find it spoils the comfort actually of the car, and it's to do with this central armrest here, because it's just not in the right place. Because when you're sort of driving along and you've got your hand probably in the wrong place technically on the steering wheel, but sort of towards the bottom where we all sort of lazily drive, this armrest it's too far back to be able to reach the steering wheel. Hopefully you can see. Yeah, sorry about that. The leg fell off the tripod just as I was trying to do the recording part of that. So anyway, back to the plot. This and I'll put that leg can go back on later on. I'll just hold it for now. So this central armrest, as I was saying, it's just in the wrong position for your arm when you're resting on the wheel, and instead it kind of catches the back of your elbow, and frankly it's annoying. But luckily we just finally just shove it in the up position like that, and it's out of the way, and then it's not a problem. But it's a bit of annoying. But you know, I guess it says an awful lot about the car when you're complaining about the position of the central armrest as being something that's really not very good. It kind of shows really how good the car is, as opposed to how bad. But you do have to bear in mind, I am kind of a bit of a fan of Skodas. I think them to be, you know, I find them very good cars. Somebody once said they are in fact the thinking man's Audi, and I would agree with that, because they're all made by the same group. Okay, you get different fits and finishes, but you know, this is it's a very good car. So you can see here the pedals are you know, very well spaced. There's plenty of room for your feet, because I do find it annoying in some cars where the pedals are really close together and you end up catching different pedals. And I don't have the world's biggest feet, they're only size 8s, but yeah, as I say, the pedals are well placed, and indeed, as I say, steering wheel is all good. Very surprised that it's actually in this particular car just a 5-speed manual gearbox, and the gearbox itself is okay, but it doesn't always seem to, I don't know, go where you want it to. You know, it's spring-loaded 1 to 2, it's spring-loaded 3 to 4 across the gate, and 5th doesn't seem to be spring-loaded over towards 5th, so you sort of, it's a very deliberate act to get it into 5th gear, and it's actually quite a very massive compliment to the car and its overall refinement that on one occasion I was driving on the motorway not long after I got into the car, and I was thinking, yeah, it's all right, it's not bad at all. And I looked down at the rev counter on the dashboard, which is just across this top bit here, and thought, well, that's revving a bit high. And then noticed actually I was only in 3rd, and we were doing 100 kilometers an hour. So it says quite a lot for the refinement of the car that at 100 kilometers an hour in 3rd on the motorway, it was only when I realised it was revving a little bit high, surprisingly high, that I realised I wasn't actually in 5th. And that's because the gate sort of, you know, it felt like I was in 5th. It's very hard to describe, but it didn't seem to want to go across into 5th. You know, you think you're in 5th, but you're actually still only in 3rd. And that might just be because it's a fairly new car. As I say, I had 500 kilometres on the clock when I picked it up. Anyway, it's enough rambling about that. Let's have a look around the space in the back of the car, because sort of established that in the front, nice place to be. I mean, the fit and finish, we haven't mentioned that. I mean, these interior materials, I mean, this bit across the dashboard here. It's kind of like a rubberized plasticky thing. It's not hard and horrible to the touch. The doors are that's slightly harder there and there. But you know, I know some guys in videos that will talk about, oh, the scratchy plastics, this, that and the other. But personally, I don't go around scratching that. What concerns me in a car are the touch points. So the steering wheel, and this seems to be probably leather coated, and that feels very nice quality. The indicator stalks and things like that, they feel nice to the touch. Steering wheel buttons are all good. You know, it's sort of the bits that matter really are very, very nice. I mean, the gear lever, I mentioned about it being a bit bulky, but actually it feels nice. And surprise, surprise, guys, a proper manual handbrake. Wow, who'd have thunk that in 2025? Another nice little design feature is this here, which doesn't look much, probably doesn't come out that well, but this is obviously the vent. And when the door shuts, it shuts into this area here. So you get a, see, it's gone into there. Absolutely seamless blend between the dash and the door pillar. How nice is that? This material across here, it's I think it's called crepe fabric, K-R-E-P-P fabric, as opposed to crap fabric. It's recycled something, I don't know, recycled whales or something, who knows. But you know, apparently it's good for the environment, and it looks good. Yeah, I don't know obviously how hard wearing it will be. I don't see why it would wear, given where it is. Anyway, the front's a nice place to be, so let's go hop in the back and see what that's like for legroom and space and stuff like that. So now we're sat in the back. Let's just start off with using a bit headroom. I mean, there is acres of headroom. I mean, you could probably wear a top hat in the back of this. As I said before, I'm 5'9". I mean, in terms of, because it's a nicely squared back, you see, and no sunroof up there. So it actually gives you ample headroom, which is great, because so many cars nowadays have got that sort of pseudo coupe, even on hatchbacks and sort of like SUV type things, but the roof line comes down, but you've got plenty of headroom here. You really would be very comfortable in the back in terms of headroom. But legroom wise, there's also plenty of that too. The front seat is in the position that I would have it in for driving, and you know, you've got the slight sort of scalloped out back of the front seats, which is good. Gives you absolutely, you know, acres of knee room. So I'd say the front setup for me in 5'9", and your feet tuck away completely under the front seat. So, you know, in terms of how much space there is in the back, there's you know, certainly loads for 4 people, and there are seat belts for 3 people in the back, but I think it would probably be a little bit tight if you had somebody in this middle seat. There's no central armrest, which is kind of a bit, well, you know, bear in mind it's the base model, I suppose. What am I expecting? Maybe too much. But yeah, I mean, you know, the back of the car is it's a very nice place to be. You've got these nice door bins, which I know are big enough to put a bottle of water in. Again, you've got the same sort of soft, pseudo hard plastics, the electric windows, conventional door handles, little speakers. I think there's 8 speakers in this particular trim level with the stereo thing. So I mean, the sound's fine. Obviously, I can't put that on when we go out for the drive because I don't want to get a copyright strike. You get a couple of map reading lights in the back, which are fine. Some Jesus handles up here, as in Jesus, what are you doing? Coat hooks there, and just down here a couple of USB-Cs and the ability, of course, to direct your own airflow. So yeah, it's all good. Those who have children or need for a family car, of course, it's got the normal ISOFIX points in the back, and we don't have any need for that sort of seat, so I can't tell you whether it's good, bad or indifferent to put them in. I really don't know at all. But yeah, it's good. I haven't actually mentioned that the overall upholstery, it's in sort of a I don't know what it would call it. It's like a clothish, nylonish sort of material. I suppose really it's the same as you get in a lot of non-leather stroke fake leather plastic cars nowadays. You know, in the 70s everything was sort of velour or leather. Nowadays it seems to be this sort of, it almost feels like nylonish to me material. Probably very hard wearing, but yeah, it's not in the least bit unpleasant. I really need to show you one of the things which I think is a bit of a compromise on this car, and that's going to involve going outside, and it's now raining. I mean, in the last few days we've had most untypical wall-to-wall sunshine Irish weather, and now it's much more like you would expect. So the locals tell me, i.e. I'd call it hammering down with rain. They say it is nothing but a mere bit of mizzle, I think they call it. I can't quite remember, but yeah, it's wet and horrible, and I'm going to have to go outside to show you the boot. Before we go in the boot, I thought I'd just show you the doors. I mean, the doors open really nice and wide, so in terms of access and getting in, it really is very easy. I think the front doors open nice and wide as well. So as I say, it's all good. The seats, by the way, are manually adjustable, height, back, forward, and rake, but there's no electric. But as I say, this is sort of base spec, what do you expect? So let's have a look in here. So it's a manual boot, and the boot space itself is 400 litres with the seats up, and 1395 I think it is. I'll put it down on the thing down there with them down, but kind of the boot space is not as big as one might hope. So for example, if you had dogs which were, for example, 2 greyhounds, I think this would be far too small, because although it's nice and high to there, this angle comes in very close and there's not an awful lot of distance there. And as you can see, from the tip of my finger to sort of the middle of my forearm is about as long as this section is. And I don't actually know whether the 400 litres and 1500 litre figures are up to this sensible load height, or whether they are to the roof. I'm not sure. It comes with this parcel shelf, which is obviously detachable, comes out, but it's nicely hooked over to the internals of the tailgate, so it lifts up out of your way. But yeah, I was a bit surprised. I mean, we had one big suitcase, and it kind of filled most of the space in the back, which did surprise me. You get this nice little pull down lever thing to shut the boot with. I haven't looked under the bonnet yet, so let's probably won't be able to find anything. There must be a lever somewhere. There's the lever there. Oh, makes great filming this, doesn't it? Oh god, that's a heavy old bonnet. Bloody hell, that's solid, is that? That's unusual. It doesn't have a big cover on the engine, so you can actually see stuff. Wow. And that's shiny, isn't it? I'm not going to tell you anything. I mean, obviously that's where the oil goes. So yeah, you know, those people who like looking at an engine, fill your boots. It is one solid and heavy bonnet, and it may be, I don't know whether the overall strength of that sort of feature helps the car get its NCAP Euro NCAP 5 rating. It certainly is not a flimsy car, and that's got to be a good thing. And of course, being a Skoda, it has the usual Skoda Simply Clever features, such as a little ticket tag here just inside the windscreen. I don't know why all cars don't have that. It's such a sensible thing. On the back of the sun visor, it's got another ticket thing. You come out here, and inside the door, you probably know Skodas have an umbrella shoved in the door there, which is great. Some Skodas have one in both, or they certainly used to. My old Skoda Superb Estate did. You might have seen the film. I'll put a link to it at the end. Anyway, there's an umbrella in there. You come round to the fuel cap, and in here, just here, should be an ice scraper, which for some reason they've taken out. Presumably so it doesn't get lost or stolen, but you'd have thought they might have taken the umbrella out of the door. Then again, maybe whoever does the sort of pre-delivery stuff for Europcar doesn't know that there's an umbrella in the door, so it's just been left in there. Anyway, I think those features are, just make any Skoda so well thought out, and sort of thing. I'm easily impressed, but it impresses me. So I know what you're all saying. Yeah, enough waffle, Wolfie. Get it out on the road. What do you think of it when you drive? Well, let's go. So just before we set off on the drive, I just want to show you one of the less endearing features of the car. So you start off on the home screen, and up here you go into the drive assist part of the menu. This one here is the lane keep assist, which I find intrusive, so you want that off, and you go back. This one here is the front emergency braking assist. Well, I'm quite happy with that. Keep that active, and it also displays here on the dashboard in front of you if you're getting closer than you should to the car in front. So we'll keep that one on. This is the speed limit sound thing, so you have to turn that off. And drowsiness, well, you can or not, I just turn it off. So every time you get in the car, it's that. It's not good, but it's not Skoda's fault. There is a way in the settings to sort of overcome that by putting some sort of personal profile in, but this is, as I said earlier, a hire car, and I don't really know. But I mean, the thing is with the speed limit warning, of course I'm not against safety or anything like that, and it's a good idea to be told if you're going to go over the speed limit, but this car seems to have a habit of reading speed limits on side roads. So you're hurtling along in a 60 km/h limit, and you go past a side road that the car sees the 50 sign for, and all of a sudden it starts beeping at you because you should only be doing 50, which is a nonsense. So it's all right having this tech, Mr. EU legislator, but you've got to make sure that the cars are actually up to handling it properly. Anyway, let's go now. So we're on this little narrow back road, and the cars we're doing 53 km/h. Don't really want to go a lot faster, but the way it rides and holds, the bumps, manhandles the bumps, etc., is absolutely fine. It's probably down to those nice squashy 16-inch wheels with big thick tyres on it, but very refined really for what it is. But you'll notice when we pull away from a junction in a bit, the 3-cylinder engine, it's a little bit coarse as you accelerate, but it's fine as you're just floating along. I'm sure some of these professional drivers would push the car to its limits and find that it doesn't handle as good, and blah de blah de blah. But as you know me, I drive cars just in a perfectly normal way like everybody does every day. And is it any good for doing that? And the answer is, well, yeah, it's really good. But what we'll do is we'll wait till we get, in fact we're just coming up to a junction now, and we're going to have to accelerate out of here so you can hear the thrum of the 3-cylinder engine. But I shall just ask my cousin, which way are we going, please? Right and then left. How about that? Right and then left. So we go right here and then left here. Here we go. So listen to the thrum. So it's not the most refined engine as you accelerate like that, up to sort of the 80 km/h speed limit. But once you're there and you're in fifth, I mean, how quiet do you want your car to be? I don't have the decibelometer with me, so I wouldn't know. But I'll ask my audience in the back, does the car sound noisy, ladies?
No.
No?
Lovely.
Lovely!
We can hear every word you say.
Excellent, how about that? And very annoyingly, although we've turned the lane keep assist off, it's showing on the dashboard as still being on. So great, that'll make it for a lovely drive, because what you don't know is, whilst it sort of keeps you in the lane, it makes it very hard if you want to deviate to avoid a pothole or another car or whatever. The steering is just like really stiff, and then all of a sudden the car will move. So I don't really consider it to be a safety feature at all. So we're not long into the journey, and it's sort of doing 8.7 litres per kilometre. So just goes to show, on a short run, and we've done 4 kilometres, if you're only using this car for short town runs, you're probably not going to get a hugely impressive MPG out of it. I guess it's the same as all cars. It's all very well saying you get 52 to the gallon. You might if you're on a run. And we're in town traffic at the moment, albeit that not that busy. But it does kind of highlight one of the things I'm not so wild about with this engine, and that is its lack of torque. So you have to be in a much lower gear than you would think you need to be at any given time. Less than ideal, really. So we'll just sort of see in a minute what that's like. So we're going left at this next roundabout. He asks the navigator. Yes, left at the next roundabout. We're in, if you're interested, the town of Ballina in County Mayo at the moment. We're actually on our way to a seaweed bath, but I will spare you the filming of that. So we're on this 80 km/h road, and you probably notice the small engine and lack of torque a bit more on this sort of road even than in town. Simply because we're in third, we're doing 63, 68, 70 km/h in an 80, so well under the speed limit, but it's kind of in fourth. It'll cruise along all right in the fourth gear, but it's like you put your foot down and just nothing happens. So it's, I don't know. I mean, it's not a deal breaker. You just really need to learn how to drive it, and maybe it's partly down to me, because I've been spent more of my time lately driving electric cars where you've got the instant torque. It just seems a little bit alien that you have to think about these things. But as you can see here, the road is sort of undulating. Here we go, 80 km/h. It's a nice place to be, really, as a car. Kind of. There you go. That's fifth gear at 62 km/h. Can't handle it. Have to change to fifth. Doesn't like it. Down into third. From fourth, third, to get yourself round here. But I would have thought it should be all right in fourth, but it's doing it. Anyway, that's it really. It's. I think maybe the engine is a little bit small. I don't know. This is the 95 horsepower. I don't know what the torque figures are. I'll put them somewhere in the description down there. But I would think the torque figures are not very much. Of course, it's the torque figure, not the horsepower, that makes the thing easier to drive. But la-di-da, it sounded as if I was whinging an awful lot in that drive about the lack of torque, etc., etc. But actually, it's quite a nice car to drive. And I think the more you drive it, the more you'll get used to the characteristics of the engine, etc., etc., and the more fun you'll start having in it. But as I say, just as a one-off, you do find it a little bit untorquey, but quite refined once it's on the move. So in essence, not a lot of torque, quite a lot of grumbliness when you're hoofing it, but once you get up to cruising speed, it's fine. However, slightly less. Slightly more disappointing, I suppose, is this 6.9 litres per 100 kilometres that we've had on a 20 kilometre journey. That doesn't sound to me like it's working out as an awful lot of PG, but I will work out what it is, and I'll pop it down there. But I'm pretty certain it's nowhere near 52, because I think the other day we were getting 5 point something after a longer run, and I worked out at 43. So, you know, certainly if you bought one of these to do short journeys in, it's not going to be that economical, I don't think. You might think that I'd be saying, yeah, you definitely go out and buy one. But I probably wouldn't say that, to be honest with you. I think at this price point, there are a number of other cars. And if you're in the market for a car of this ilk at this price point, you'll know what they all are already. But for me, I'm not a massive fan of the SUV style. And quite interestingly, when I looked on the Skoda UK website, while I was just looking into this film, I found that, believe it or not, you can get the 1.5 Skoda Octavia Estate for about £10 a month less than this £25,000 car would cost. So although the car has got a headline price slightly dearer, it's slightly cheaper per month. And for me, that's where my money would go, because the Skoda Octavia, yes, it's an estate, so it's not the pseudo SUV, and some people prefer the higher driving position. I'm indifferent, but you do get an awful lot more space in the Octavia than you get in this Kamiq, and it's a 1.5 engine. The economy is not hugely different, and overall, I just think, personally, for me, that's what I would buy. But that far from makes this Kamiq a bad car. It's a very good car. Certainly, if you are looking at this sort of thing, then out of the the Volkswagen or the Audi or the Seat equivalent, I wouldn't bother. Go for the Skoda every time. It's where the smart money goes. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the film. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, give it a like, share it, tell your mates. You may even like to subscribe to the channel. I don't always do Skoda stuff. It's all very varied. It's just things that interest me and I think might interest you. And as I say, feel free to subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. This is a non-monetized channel, so I don't make any money out of it, etc., etc. And as I say, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in a future episode of Wolfie's Wheels. Bye.